Hello again, Jennifer here. Today we are cracking the code on thickened liquids. Thickened liquids, or thickened drinks, are designed to help people that have trouble swallowing. As you've learned, it's called dysphagia. It helps to improve their swallow function by increasing the thickness of the liquid. This is allowing the person a little bit more time to have more control, making it less likely that they cough and choke when they're drinking. We do this by adding thickener, which comes in either a gel form, like the brand Simply Thick, these are big packets of it, or a powder form from a brand that I know called Thicken. But not all thickened liquids are the same. The amount of thickness a person will need will depend on the severity of their swallowing problems. As speech therapists, we make our recommendations based on swallow studies or clinical exams. There are generally 3 types of thickened liquid consistencies that you should be aware of. The first is mildly thick, or nectar consistency. This is probably the most common consistency, and it's called nectar because once the liquid is thickened, it should flow at the same rate nectar would. Some liquids, like buttermilk, fruit nectars, tomato juice, and yogurt smoothies, are naturally nectar thick and require no thickener. Moderately thick, or honey consistency, is the second most common consistency. It, as I'm sure you can now guess, flows at the same rate as honey. Extremely thick, or pudding consistency, comes in at the thickest consistency. And yes, it has the consistency of pudding. This liquid usually has to be provided by a spoon. However, it's not very commonly prescribed, thank goodness. So now I'm going to show you how to make these thickened liquids at home using the pre-packaged thickeners from Simply Thick. I will say that thickener has come a long way in terms of ease of mixing and how well it dissolves. The Simply Thick brand is the thickener that I use at my facility, and it's the one that I would recommend if you were going to use this at home. I will attach links below so that you can purchase any of these in single serve pouches or in a pump dispenser. Okay, so let me get my cups. Now all of these pre-thickened, these little pouches are for 4 ounces, so half a cup each. So if you were doing an 8-ounce cup, you would have to double your size. And these, the bigger pouches that you can order from, also, they are for 32 ounces, so 4 cups. They also come in a pump dispenser, which you'll see if you look at my description section, that you can order so that you can mix whole containers if you wanted to, of whatever consistency, just so that you didn't have to worry about mixing it all the time. Okay, so the mildly thick, I'm going to put in here the nectar consistency is just 1 pouch you pour in. All of these say to mix for 30 seconds. And it says to either mix with a fork, not a spoon, to make sure that it really dissolves well. You can also put a lid or a cover over these and shake too. That'll mix them just as well. And you just want to make sure that everything is dissolved. So the honey, it'll say on there, it says mildly thick or honey thick. It comes in a yellow pack. Same thing, dump it in. And you're going to mix it for 30 seconds or until the liquid's dissolved. So this is going to be thicker. And for pudding thick, you're going to use 2 of the honey packets. So 2 of the honey packets equals the pudding thick. Again, I don't imagine that anybody's really gonna have to use pudding consistency. I hope not. I don't have anybody currently, and in fact, in 10 years of my job, I've only had 1 person that has been on pudding consistency. So honey thick is thankfully about as thick as I ever have to go. Okay, so we've got the honey, and then we do the pudding. Again, we're mixing with a fork. You can still shake this one up, but I just kind of want to show you the difference in the consistency. Thickener used to, some of them over time would thicken up as they sat, especially in drinks that were hot, but you don't have to worry about that anymore. Okay, so here we have our thickness levels. So I want to show you first, so this is just regular thin water, that it flows easy. We know what water looks like. Okay, so here's the nectar, and it just has a little bit of a thickness to it. It slows fast. So this flows less quick than water. The honey, again, is going to be a little bit thicker. You can see that this kind of globs a little bit more. It sticks to the spoon a lot easier. It's honey. And then the pudding. Like I said, the pudding you would give with a spoon because it doesn't really, you can drink from the cup. But if they're at this thickener level, if they require this much thickness, then you're probably also going to want to make sure that you control how much they get at one time too. So this pudding thickness you would want to give with the spoon so that you would have control of how much they're taking in at one time. So that's the pudding thick. That's the worst of them. Okay, so there are your 3 liquid consistencies. All right, so a few things that I want to go over with you caregivers. If you thicken carbonated drinks, they tend to lose their fizz and will go flat after adding thickener, but you can, if you want to, thicken anything that's carbonated, Coke, Sprite, whatever. It just may not have the same taste. Also, don't forget to thicken things like soup broth and gravy and sauces that are relatively thin. So if you're serving like a chicken noodle soup, you would want to thicken the broth if they were on thickened liquids as well, because the thinness of that broth and then mixing it with the food will likely get them coughing and choking, having less control over whatever it is that they're eating. And unfortunately, food items that melt at room temperature, like ice cream and Jell-O, should also be avoided if thickened liquids are needed. All right, so if any of you guys have any questions regarding thickened liquids, please post them down below, and I will be sure to get back to you. In later videos, I will also go over different diet types and discuss the differences between those. So stay tuned. Remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and click the bell for notifications to know when I post new videos. And of course, try out the new cryptogram puzzle that I've attached. Until next time, good luck cracking the code.